The body of 18-year-old black teen Nolan Xavier Wells has been found. His white friends who were with him on the trip have already hired lawyers. Wells vanished July 4 during a 4th of July boat outing to Horn Island, Mississippi, about 10 miles off the Gulf Coast. A park ranger found him in the water near the northwest end on July 6th. His phone was not with him. It was in his father's possession. The island has no cell coverage and is only accessible by private boat. Search teams, including the Cajun Navy, scoured land and sea since his disappearance. Authorities have not said how many people were on the boat or who made the missing person report. But online video suggests a possible altercation before the friends left Wells behind. One friend is the child of a judge, and all of them quickly retained lawyers. Wells was reportedly heading to meet a girl, but instead his friends took another boat and departed without him. Why did his phone return, but he did not? Why the immediate legal protection? The family and activists are furious, comparing this to other cases where black victims' deaths were dismissed as accidents. Officials are awaiting DNA confirmation, though the family says they have identified him. What do you think?
The way this country talks about black victims versus white victims is disgusting. Nolan Wells' body was found yesterday off the coast of Mississippi. If you didn't know, he was presumed missing and dead on July 4th. It is America's 250th birthday, and we're still dealing with this bullshit. He was celebrating with his friends for the 4th of July, and there's now circulating video that is going very viral of what looks to be him and his friends that he went with on the beach, and there's an argument. There's yelling happening. In the video, he looks to be very calmly standing still looking at his buddies. And somehow, the conversation is about his behavior. Why wasn't he on the boat? Was he drinking? Was he going from one boat to another? Now, I'm going to give you a scenario. It's kind of morbid, so stick with me, and trigger warning. If I show up dead, washed on a beach, my community of people where I was born are not going to go, well, how was Jake acting? Did he stay where he was supposed to? Did he start an argument with people? No, it's going to go, what the fuck? We have someone that would kill people out here? Jake, I love that guy. He plays for the football team. I'm just putting myself in Nolan's shoes. Nolan plays for the team. He's friends with those people. And the conversation is about his behavior. Just so frustrating. Like, racism is still alive and well just in the dialogue. Just in the dialogue. As simple as that. I just want this country to do better. And I see a future where we just stop with this bullshit and start going like, man, this kid was killed. Like, his on the 4th of July, he is celebrating with everyone. And he can't even do that. We can do better. We gotta do better. Oh, and apparently one of the friends' moms is a local judge. And if you think that will work in Nolan's favor, you clearly don't know anything about the history of young black men in this country. This isn't gonna go anywhere. We have to speak up about it. The way this...
Shalom. Before I begin this lesson, give all praises, honor, and glory to our Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of the Great Millstone who do rule and teach well. Peace, blessings, salutations, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Barakathum, decency, Akim, noisiness, gospel abroad, keeping the faith, diligence, and testimony of our Lord Yahushai. And to the few sincere Akwath that listen and learn as well, to you I say shalom. So here we have it, another high-profile case of a young so-called black man, Israelite Jake, all right, that has been murdered by so-called white men, Edomites. And see, when you deal with America, Babylon the Great, all right, this is what this nation, this country was founded upon, man. All right, the murder, the exploitation, the brutalization of the Israelites, you know, and nothing has changed, all right, since, you know, Jake was brought over here. Well, really, since they came against the Northern Kingdom, it's been ongoing nonstop, all right, for hundreds of years, and it's still continuing to this very day. Now, I will say with Nolan Wells and his parents that they should have known better, right? Given the state of this country and just the racial tensions in general, the parents of Nolan Wells should have known, right? Or at least they should have had a conversation with him, all right, to express the potential dangers of being the only what they call token black, all right, in an all white group, all right. And see, these were not his friends, man. All right, these were not Nolan Wells' friends. He thought they were his friends. You know, he thought they were his buddies. But clearly, they had ulterior motives, all right? And it's been that way since the very beginning. You see, this is why you cannot trust Esau, all right? When you look at the history of Esau and Jake, especially here in Babylon the Great, all right, no, sane, rational person, all right, should come to the conclusion that, yes, the so-called white man is someone that I can trust, okay? You a damn fool if you believe that, all right? Still to this day, they haven't stopped, man. So like I said, the parents of Nolan Wells himself, very unwise, and ultimately, this is judgment from the Heavenly Father. All right, because all these incidences of, Esau against Jacob, all right, all these high profile cases are being put out there for you Israelites to see who your enemy is, man. All right, because you have a lot of, you have a lot of house niggas, all right? You have a lot of coon ass niggas out here, man, that are hell bent on saving the so-called white man from his judgment. Understand? When we talk about the judgment of Esau, Edom, all right, you'll have our people, whether it be Northern Kingdom, or Southern Kingdom, you'll have our people, they'll come and they'll have an issue with the scriptures that we bring out pertaining to the judgment of Esau. But you don't understand that really it's not us that you have a problem with. It's really Yahweh Bashmi Shai, because when you read in Obadiah, all right, Obadiah is what? Thus saith the Lord. Okay? So, you know what I'm saying? This is not our doctrine. Oh, you hate the so-called white man. Yeah, we do. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We do hate the so-called white man, And we're justified in hating the so-called white man because the Lord hates the so-called white man, whose true nationality is that of Esau, Edom. All right. And these, so-called white men that Nolan Wells was hanging with, these were definitely Edomites. All right. Because they came in the spirit of Esau. And no, I got to put this disclaimer out there because you have simple people that come. It's not a skin color thing. All right. Just because you may look like a, so-called white person, that doesn't mean that you're an Edomite. All right. How can I put this? All white people are not Esau, but all Edomites can be so-called white people. All right. If that makes sense, but it's not about the skin color. It's about the seed of your father. All right. Now, if you look like that and the seed of your father goes back to Esau, and we mainly know that you're an Edomite from the spirit that you come in. All right. Because the spirit of Esau against Jacob is one of hatred, is one of murder, is one of slander, is one of just very vile, man. Okay, you all should know this. All right, but you have some that may look like that come in a different spirit, that are more hospitable towards Jake, that actually do right by Jake. You know what I'm saying? Those could potentially be Israelites. You see? But no, it's not about skin color. It's about the seed that you come from. But anyway, not to get off into that. Like I said, man, very unwise to be the only so-called black man in this all-white group. And as you saw in that video, there was some kind of altercation on the beach that occurred that I guess potentially led to him getting offed. And this is yet another case that's stirring up Jake. You know what I'm saying? You got a lot of Jake on social media now that's like, yo, we done with white people, man. You know what I'm saying? Which, hey, look, we've been told you, all right, who your enemy is. We've been told you, which really you should have seen that just from the history alone. You know, you should have seen that just from the dealings of how the so-called white man deals with you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, that he's your enemy, that he can't stand your ass, man. See? But the prophets have been on the scene telling you this all along. All right, now the Lord is really starting to open up on our people to show you definitively that, yes, these are your enemies. And see, this proves, all right, that these are the Edomites, man, because they have that perpetual hatred towards you. You see what I'm saying? And one thing about Esau, he's a serpent, man. He's a devil. So he's very good at pretending, you know, he's very good at pretending that he's your friend, you know, so, you know, getting you to trust him, soften you up. But ultimately what war is in his heart. All right, that's the same thing he did with the Northern Kingdom, so-called Native Americans. All right, when, you know what I'm saying, when Esau came, he ain't come with swords drawn and guns blazing. No, he came peaceably. You know, he came and you know, he made it seem like he wanted to be friends and he wanted to build something. And, you know, he was an upright man. That's how he came at first. You see? Then he got the natives to trust him. You know, they showed him how to, you know, farm the land, showed him the best parts of the land, you know, gave Esau a tour, taught him how to fish and all that type of stuff, right? So they set Esau up real nice. But how did Esau repay them? He came against them with war and disease, okay, biological warfare. You see? Because once Esau came in and he saw how much land that there was, and he saw how, you know, how many resources were on the land, they get to imaginable shit. You know, all this land out here, and you know, these savages are just, you know, roaming free on the prairie, and, you know, they moving from place to place, and, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, Esau get to thinking in his mind, well, shit, you know what I'm saying? We could do much better with this, but we got to get them out the way. All right? That's how these Edomites think, man. You see? And the natives, they didn't deal like that. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much, see, Esau, he really set the precedent in the earth to deal with deceit. You know what I'm saying? Because pretty much the nations, before Esau came into the hegemony, your word was your word. Like, if you said you was going to do something, that's what it was. So when Esau came and he said he was, you know what I'm saying? Because Esau came and said, you know, tried to make a deal or made a treaty with them and said, hey, you know what? I just want this little piece of land right here. I'm not going to take no more. I'm not going to move. I'm not going to encroach on you. We just want to build on this little piece of land right here, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to bother you, right? Esau will be there for a little while, and then Esau come with the sword. You know, or first, before he come with his sword, you know, this nigga come with a document. You know what I'm saying? It's a damn devil, man. You know, so Esau come with a document and give it to you and say that this land is ours now. Like, nigga, you know, what the hell you mean that this land is yours now? Like, who are you? You know what I'm saying? The nigga really wrote his own document and said that we claim from this part of the land to this part of the land, and you got to move within a certain amount of time or we gonna come against you with war. That's what Esau was doing, man. Like, that's the type of treacherous shit that this devil was doing. And the natives was like, hold on, wait a minute, but you said you only wanted to stay over here. Esau said, nah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we said that, but really what we want is we want all of this right here, but y'all, you know what I'm saying, we got to move you out the way. See? So Esau, he's always looking to destroy you Israelites, man. And that's always been the case. That's why I said, if you understand the history of how this man gets down, nothing should surprise you. Understand? Nothing should surprise you, man. Like, you know, we're at the point now where you should already know what the devil is all about. You should already know what type of time that he's on. I mean, he's been telling you, you know, and we're in that time now where they want a race war. You got them Edomites up in Canada. You got these Edomites out here in America. And guess what they doing right now? They in fight clubs. They training. They going to the gun range. They loading up on ammo. Cause they about to really take it to a race war against you Israelites. That's what's getting ready to happen. And you have no idea. These Edomites are getting ready, man, because they see that their country going down. They see that they losing their women. They see that the shameful spewing is upon their glory. So they about to crash out. They feel like they got nothing left to lose, so they about to let it all hang out. And see, they about to come against their number one enemy, those that they hate the most, you so-called blacks, all right? That's what they really want to get rid of the most, man. So what you think is getting ready to happen with this case? You already heard that, since it's been announced that his body came up missing, that now one of the mothers, that she's a judge, pretty much all the parents got lawyers now. They're like, why are you getting lawyers, to defend yourself if you have nothing to hide? Like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? If this was a friend, right? If this was a friend of the family, shouldn't you be hiring lawyers to try to help figure out what happened? But see, we already know that they were in on it. They had something to do with it. So they're going to protect themselves from any wrongdoing. Right? And when you get that in Zechariah 11, and 5, and it reads, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. And see, right now, we're still in Esau's kingdom. We're still in his rule. So Esau, he has the power to hold himself not guilty because everything is governed by his laws. All right. So he can kill you wholesale and say, oh, well, we did nothing wrong. We don't have anything to do with it. Oh, he just, hung himself or he committed suicide, and then they sweep the case under the rug, and that's the end of it. See? And they that sell them say, blessed be the Lord, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not. So that's what these Edomites say. These Edomites are in a high position of rulership. They exalt themselves. They are now in the seat of judgment, which think about that. You have the wicked now in the seat of judgment to judge between right and wrong, man. That's crazy as hell. But see, that's the power of Yahweh Bashmi Shai, to where he's raised up the basis of men to be in a seat of judgment. This is how much that the Lord punished us, man. The Lord really took us all the way to the bottom and let the worst of the heathen rule over us, man. So this shows you that, Jake really fucked up. All right. Jake really pissed off the Heavenly Father, man. Like, that's a wild shit right there. Excuse my Swahili. But the fact remains, right? These Edomites, they're not going to hold themselves accountable. You see? They're going to say, oh, well, none of these, we don't know what happened. Or there's not enough evidence to definitively conclude that this young man was murdered. More than likely, they're going to throw the case out, or they're going to settle, or they're going to, the most that may be happening is somebody might get some hours of service or some BS like that. But you're not going to see any of these individuals that were involved or were his friends get any type of jail time, even though all the circumstances surrounding this whole thing is very suspicious, man. Okay? Very, very suspicious. But this is Babylon the Great. This is Esau. All right? This article right here from New York Post. It's like, let me put some water real quick. This article here from New York Post. Nolan Wells' devastated mom asks for time to grieve as body found in search for special soul son. The heartbreaking mother of the Mississippi football player who vanished on a local island over the 4th of July remembered her son as a special soul after a body was found following a 2-day search. Nolan Xavier Wells' devastated mother, Christine Wonsley, spoke out hours after authorities found a body believed to be her 18-year-old son, who mysteriously vanished after a boating trip with friends Saturday afternoon on Horn Island, a popular barrier island about 10 miles off the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And if you saw in that one video, it said that the particular island that they went to, it had no cell service. It was very remote, you know, and it was pretty much like nothing out there. So, if you wanted to off somebody, all right, that's where you would take them. If you wanted to do something to somebody, that's where you do it at, man. Because there ain't no cameras out there. The only witnesses that actually saw what happened were those people that were there, you know. So, like I said, when this thing goes to court, if it even gets far anyway, like if they don't throw it out, there's really no evidence. I mean, they said that they're gonna do DNA, but one of the mothers of one of his so-called friends, she's a judge, so she can easily be like, listen, don't present that. Okay, whatever DNA comes out, they're not gonna allow that to incriminate them. So this is not gonna go nowhere, man. All right, they basically gonna hold a kangaroo court and just throw the whole thing out. So this is what's going to rile up Jake, man, because, you know what I'm saying, Jake is already on edge with Esau anyway, and vice versa. So this is only going to push things to the breaking point, and that's what the elites want. But reading on, look at that, man. And see, Jake really thought that these were his friends. You know what I'm saying? Jake really thought these were his buddies, man. But see, if he would have known, and this is why it's very important for our people to understand what times we're in and also understand who they are and who their enemies are. Because if he would have known that these were Edomites, all right, that these were his chief enemy, then he, you know what I'm saying, he wouldn't have been nowhere near these Edomites, man. Okay? That's why for you Jakes out there, hey, look, you already know. You don't kick it with these Edomites, you know what I'm saying? Of course, we got to deal with Esau because we're in his world. But you don't take it beyond a high and by, or, just keep it at work or whatever the case, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? You ain't going over no Edomite house or going to hang out, man. You know what I'm saying? Hell no. You know what I'm saying? Because you get drunk around these Edomites and, hey, you already know. Something click in Esau's mind and he remembers the lentils, right? He remembers the birthright. He's like, you know what? I want to kill this nigga. You know what I'm saying? And then the next thing you know, your ass is floating in the water somewhere, or your ass is hanging from a damn tree, or your body cut up, dismembered in a goddamn body bag somewhere, man. Okay? That's how these Edomites do, because they always have it in their mind to where what? They want to slay Jacob. Genesis 27. Because see, this is the same spirit going back to the very beginning, man. And the Lord said that he would put enmity between the seed of the serpent and the seed of the woman. The seed of the serpent being Esau, in this time, and the seed of the woman being the 12 tribes of Israel, Jake. All right, Genesis 27. And 41. And Esau hated Jacob. And see, these Edomites, they don't even understand why they hate you. But it's a spiritual thing, all right, going way back, like I said, to the garden, man. This is a deep ingrained spiritual hatred that, started really with the serpent in the garden. It got passed on to Cain. And, after the flood, it came back in Esau. You know what I'm saying? And, since Esau has been passed on to all of his descendants, man, that same perpetual hatred. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And see, even when you go back, showing you how beautiful that the scriptures is, even when you go back to the very beginning, why did Cain hate Abel? Because Abel, his sacrifice was accepted of the Lord, and Cain, his sacrifice was not accepted. So Cain was envious of the blessing that Abel got from the Most High. And that's why ultimately Cain rose up and he slew his brother Abel, man. All right, so the same thing we see here, where it says that Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand, then will I slay my brother Jacob. So Esau had the same mindset as Cain, the same mindset as the serpent. It's all spiritual. See that? So this is what our people need to understand in these last days, that these Edomites, they not your friend. And they never were, never will be. Okay, we are, you know what I'm saying, we have been enemies since the womb. All right? But look at that. That's crazy, man. It says, I want to thank our family, friends, community, United Cajun Navy, local law enforcement, and everyone involved for all the love, support, resources over the last few days. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so that's, you know, that's pretty much the point. Yeah, somebody asked a good question. It says, how does he go missing among friends on a boat? What does his friend say? Is there an investigation going on? Yeah. Well, that's, you know what I'm saying? And that's a question that should be brought up in court. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, how is it that you just left and you left your friend there? And, you know what I'm saying? None of y'all tried to find out where he was, like what happened to him or nothing, which we know why, because they did something to Jake, man. You know, they did something to Jake, and yeah, you know, Jake came up missing, but now he's found dead. All right. So this is just matter of fact, let's get it. Cause see, look, we're in that time to where any of you Jakes that, you know, is all buddy with these Edomites, hey, look, the Lord going to, you know, turn that spirit up on Esau to come against your ass, man. All right, because the Lord don't want you hanging around these goddamn devils. All right, this is Ecclesiasticus, Sirach, right? Chapter 12, and matter of fact, yeah. Let's start at verse 10. It says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness, right? So when it comes to Esau, you know, you know, he can come to you and you know, he can seem like a good person. Oh yeah, you know, that's my buddy, you know, Kyle right there, man. Yeah, man, you know, Kyle, he cool, you know what I'm saying? Kyle cool, you know, because you know how Jake is, like Jake want to be cool with everybody. You know, Jake just got a spirit of just being, you know, very loving and hospitable. And, you know, Jake not really on that type of time to where he's looking to do something to you unless you mess with Jake. Then it's a different story. But Jake can get along with anybody, man. You know, as long as the vibes are good. But see, Esau, he'll be cool with you for a purpose. You know what I'm saying? Esau, he'll be cool with you until he see he can capitalize on you or he can get something from you. All right, that's the mindset of the devil right there, man. So you got to watch these damn Edomites, right? And you have a lot of our people, 2/3, that come in that same spirit as well. All right, so hey, you got to watch out for Edomites and niggas, man. All right, which both of them got to go. But reading on, it says in verse 11, though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. So what is the nature of iron? The nature of iron is to eventually rust. Because you think about it, right? If you was to buy a brand new shiny iron sword, you're not going to see no rust, right? But if you leave that iron sword out in the elements for a certain amount of time, it's going to start to rust. You see what I'm saying? Because that's the nature of iron. So the same as the nature of iron is to rust. It's the same nature as Esau to be the devil, to be the wicked. So no matter how shiny and polished up he may seem, eventually that rust is going to show. So you have to know that, man. And see, that's why you have to know how to deal with Esau, man, because, you know, Esau just ain't right. You see, verse 12, set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, and they overthrew that young Jake, man, he stand up in thy place, neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And see, a lot of this happened as well during the Dark Ages, you know, going into the Renaissance period, man. You know what I'm saying? Because you had a lot of them, like, you know, listen, when you go into the history of how Esau came up, and overthrew Jake during the Dark Ages, that's a wild history right there, man. Lord willing, one day I can tap into that, but that's a super wild history, man, because you had Esau during that time. They was the peasants, in so-called Europe. And you also had the wild men, okay, which, Esau, he was coming straight out the cave, looked like a damn, wild dog, a damn beast. There's actual tapestries and things of that nature of them Edomites, known as the wood wolves, all right, or known as the wild men, all right. All you gotta do is look it up, medieval wild men or medieval wood wolves, all right, and you're gonna see the true nature of these Edomites, all right. And even when you get into a lot of the monarchs of that time of the so-called Middle Ages, even in into the Renaissance era, where Esau started to come back, they actually painted over the faces of the Jakes that were ruling. All right, like such as King James, who commissioned the translation of the Bible, 1611. Now they try to say that he was a so-called white man, when in fact he was a so-called black man. Okay, yes, King James was a so-called black man. You know what I'm saying? All you gotta do is do your research and do your due diligence, right? Because at that time, Jake was the ruling class in Europe, and Esau, they were the peasants. You see what I'm saying? But as we read here in verse 12, it says, when he hath overthrown thee, which Esau, he did overthrow Jake. All right, he's going to stand up in that place. You know what I'm saying? He's going to put himself up as what you were. And that's why he painted over the dark images, during the Dark Ages into the Renaissance. He put himself up as Yahushai. He painted himself as the white Christ. He painted himself as the Heavenly Father. He painted himself as the angels. He painted himself as King James. He painted himself as King Richard the Lionheart, and who else? Charles V of Spain. All them. Pretty much Esau, he whitewashed history, man. That's what this is going into right here, man. Okay, he is now stood up in our place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat, and thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or any such as come nigh wild beasts, right? So, what I'm saying? Nolan, you really can't pity him like that, because why would you go around the Edomites like that, man? You know what I'm saying? Why would you be the only Jake, man? I could see if it was another Jake over there, all right, man, but still, even then, you're the only one. That right there should have been off, bro. That right there, like, you should have questioned, like, wait a minute, why am I the only black guy in this whole group? Like, what's going on with that? Like, I can't do it, man. You know what I'm saying? That's just off, because that right there lets you know that you're like a buffer. You know what I'm saying? Again, you're that token Negro for them, man. They don't like you, nigga. You know what I'm saying? They looking to do something to you. Right? Bottom line, and hey, you see what happened. And that's how it always happens. All right? Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent? And yeah, he got bit by that serpent, man. Okay? Them serpents put sore strokes on him. And it's unfortunate, but at the same time, like I said, his parents should have put him up on game. Okay? His parents should have let him know what time we in, and you know what I'm saying, he shouldn't even have been out there on the boat with the Edomites, man. Like, straight up. That was very unwise. Verse 14. So one that goeth to a sinner and is defiled with him in his sins, who will pity? For a while he will abide with thee, but if thou begin to fall, he will not tarry. See that? So yeah, they abided with him for a while. They were his so-called friends for a while. But when it came time for Jake to fall, they didn't tarry. So they didn't wait, man. When they saw their opportunity to go in for the kill, that's what they did. All right. Verse 16, an enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. And see, the scriptures call Esau the bloody man. Okay, the violent and deceitful man. All right. King David said, preserve me from the violent man. Matter of fact, let me see if I can get that real quick. Right. I think that's, let me type it in. From the violent man. Let me just type this in. From the violent man. That's in Psalms. Yeah, Psalms 18. Really, I was thinking about Psalms 140, but that's good too. Psalms 18 and 48. He delivereth me from mine enemies. Yea, thou liftest me up above those that rise up against me. Thou hast delivered me from the violent man, which is Esau. Psalms 140 and 1, to the chief musician, the Psalm of David. Deliver me, O Lord, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man. Keep me, O Lord, from the hands of the wicked. Preserve me from the violent man who have purposed to overthrow my goings. Right. So King David said to preserve him from the evil man, from the violent man. Okay, which is Esau, Edom, man. All right. Because these devils best believe that they always looking to overthrow you, man. You know what I'm saying? This whole system that we in is built to overthrow and oppress Jake. That's what this thing is all about. So it's not just on a systematic level. It's even down to a personal level, because what they did to that Jake was personal. Okay. For them to unalive him like that, that was personal, man. See? Whether they had an argument or not, if those were your friends, then y'all should have squashed it and went on about your day. But see, those wasn't his friends, all right? Those were Edomites that were cosplaying as his friends so they could do what they really wanted to do to him, all right? It says here in verse 17, if adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. And though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee. He will shake his head and clap his hands and whisper much and change his countenance. So the scriptures already tell you about Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. Okay, how these devils think, how they get down, and ultimately how they feel about your Israelites, man. That it's all to slay you. Okay, that's always going to be their MO, is to slay you, man. You know, because that's what it's always been. So Nolan Wells, you know, bottom line is, if he had wise people around him, then they would have advised him, all right, to not be out there with them Edomites on that boat, man. All right. And for him to be alone, that was very, very unwise. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least if you're going to go out there, at least bring 2 or 3 other Jakes with you. You know what I'm saying? Just to make sure, you know what I'm saying, like, that ain't nothing going to happen. Okay. But for you to be the only one and you ain't have your phone on you, like, come on, man. Like, you know, that's just a crazy ass situation right there. Right. But bottom line is, let this be a lesson. All right. To you Israelites out there, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, that these Edomites, they out for your blood. All right. And ultimately, they going to kick off a race war. All right. Because when this verdict comes out and nobody's held accountable, best believe that it's going to be some tension behind this, man. You know, there's already tension from all of what's been going on with, what's her name? Carmelo Anthony. And there's been a few other ones, you know, so much happening, but there's been a few other ones as well. But when this verdict comes back is not guilty, that's going to rile Jake up, you know? And, yeah, it's all about to go down, man. So, yeah, you know, another Jake that's been put down back in the spirit world. And unfortunately, it's going to be more to come. All right. But this is the theme of the times that we in, the theme of judgment, and a time for you Jakes to wake the hell up and realize who your enemy is, man. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close out, Lord willing. This has been edifying through Rakakadash. Call Lord Yahweh Bashmi Oshai Bashim Rakakadash. Until next time, Lord willing. Shalom today.